Hello. What I want to do today is a demonstration that's lab specific on how to actually work on programming in C++ in our lab. So what I want to do here, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, then I'll tell you, and then I'll go over and kind of a summary of what I did. All right, so I want to encourage you to use the controls at the bottom of the video player to pause me and go back a little bit if you need to slow down the speed using the settings as appropriate, and to consider using open captions. Once this has been on YouTube for a while, you should be able to turn on captions. They'll be auto-generated. It may not be exact because technical terms sometimes are interpreted slightly different. What I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate being a student by connecting to a student. I just happen to find a couple of IDs that are still logged on in the lab. As a reminder, kindly log off when you're done with your machines to prevent somebody from accidentally closing out from a program and you might lose some work. We haven't done that yet early in the year, so I'll hopefully cover that in a procedure review in sometime in the next day or two. Not a big deal. So Mr. Chalmers is logged in here. What I'm going to do is a remote control, which should let me actually take over the student's machine, and it would be as though I'm actually at the machine. Look at that, remote control student. Here we go. So this would be a student view in the lab, and a couple of things I just want to point out since I'm in the lab, and this would be a worthwhile set of information for you. When a student opens up a web browser, they are going to need to be logged in using their Google credentials. If they haven't done that yet, it's going to be their student ID number @student.techcampus.org. There may be more than one ID on your machine. Make sure you use yours. There are some nice student bookmarks here just above my camera view. And what I'm going to do is jump into the Google Classroom for a minute, which should open up our classroom. And when you get to the Google Classroom, you can actually look at the calendar. So above my head here, there's what they call the sandwich with the lines. If I click on that, I can get to a calendar view. This will be handy for you throughout time to see what are we doing today, Mr. Judge. And so I haven't added it yet, but on this particular date, we'll be doing some C++ programming. By the way, Thursday and Friday, as a heads up, are going to be working in the game engine. So those are days you're going to want to be here so we can work in the game engine together. The getting started is important. What you could do on any one of these pages, including the calendar here, is there's a nice icon at the top at the address bar, which will bookmark that particular page for you. It's going to bring up then, all right, we're going to make this a favorite. So to do a favorite, it's going to want to add to the bookmark and you can rename it. For example, it's calendar by default. I'm just going to say done. You could make it classroom calendar if you want to. And at some point in the future, if you are off on a different, I don't know, checking your email or something like that. This is an instance where the student has not yet logged into Microsoft, which is good because that will come into play when I use Visual Studio. At this point, I'm going to bounce back to that bookmark just to show you that it bypasses checking the classroom and goes right to the calendar. Very useful look. The other thing I'm going to do here, in addition to the calendar, is go to a to-do list, which is going to list any open tasks that the student has. So if you wanted to bookmark this, again, you can bookmark it. I don't want to load up this particular student's bookmark bar with unnecessary options. And then later, if you have the programmable keyboard, we can set up shortcut keys that actually jump right to these spots if that's what you want to do, although they're really useful for video editing. All right, let's get into the core details on how to actually program now that we've talked a little bit about orienting ourselves and being logged in. I have provided kind of an outline sheet to everyone, and if you've lost yours, let me know. It's going to give you your Tech Campus student ID along with the password. And then in select areas, such as with Google or with Microsoft, you do need to add a suffix or an ending, making it look more like an email address. All right, let's see where we're at in my checklist. I'd like to put together a little outline to keep myself honest to what we're doing here. Microsoft Visual Studio 2019 is what we call an IDE, or an integrated development environment. It will help you to write good code that works. When I say good code, I mean syntactically correct. Remember, programming is going to result in the program does what you told it to do. It's not necessarily